I don't remember there being, like, when I see fights over fake eyelashes and calling somebody a butch body, which, by the way, I don't know what that is. I'm pretty sure it's not a compliment, but I don't know. I should know because I'm like in my 50s. I should know what it is, but I don't know what it is. I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember ever hearing a Democrat utter a negative word about you personally.
Right.
Y'all may have disagreed, but there was a civility off camera that I wonder if it still exists. Do you think it's the same body we served in?
I thought when we came, people had kind of talked about how far the Congress has fallen in regard to civility. And since we've left, I think the civility has fallen even further. Again, I'm all about, you want to fight on ideas, you want to fight about the future. I think that is the forum for that debate and that fight. But you're right. It's petty. It's schoolyard stupid stuff that these people are fighting about. The media laps it up. They put the stuff on social media. They get attention. So I think it has fallen far further. And I think what you did really well, and I tried to emulate what you were doing because it was a good example. It's a recognition that you come with a certain set of beliefs, but it's not a dictatorship. If you want to pass a bill and you have Barack Obama as the president, or now you have Joe Biden as the president, and you're going to want them to sign this great idea that Trey Gowdy came up with, Trey was smart enough to set the example to go, what I have to do is I have to find a Democrat to work on this bill with me. And it can't be just Trey's vision. He lets a Democrat come in and put their fingerprints on the bill that is important to Trey. And then they buy into the bill, and then the two of you, Trey is a Republican and his Democrat colleague, go to their colleagues, Democrats and Republicans, and get them to sign on to it. And then if it passes the House, this bipartisan bill that was really your idea can actually pass a Democrat-controlled Senate, and a Democrat president might sign it. Versus if you just said, I'm going to do this as Trey Gowdy, and I can get it through Republican Congress, but the Senate's never going to take it up. The president's never going to sign it. You were smart enough to go, I have to bring the Democrat in and work with them at the very foundational moment when I'm writing this bill, which is why you were so successful. And that model that you employed, I don't know that it's possible today. I don't know that people are talking to even go, hey, let's have a conversation about how we can work together. Not about the fight, but there's some real things that, you need legislation on real things that have to be done. Let's do that together. And I think the fighting is so raw, it's not happening like it should.
I wonder if the fact that we had backgrounds in the courtroom where we had to persuade 12 people who did not know us, and we knew nothing about their political orthodoxy. We knew a little bit about their backgrounds, but this art of persuasion, moving people from where they are, it is all we did in a courtroom. But it seems like politics now is just more about validating what people already believe. I'll be curious Thursday night, because the president, I understand, tore up his speech, and it is going to be a brand new speech, and it is going to be one trying to build this electoral mandate. The difference between narrowly winning and having the right to govern versus a mandate for transformational change requires more than just simply eking out a victory. So when you think of persuasion, which is what you had to do in a courtroom, it's why you were loved by your colleagues. Were you conservative? Of course you were. But you did it in a winsome, persuasive way. Do you think there's still an appetite for that in politics?
So I look at President Trump, and I love the president. I was one of the first ones in the Congress to jump on the train and go like, this is my horse. He has a unique brand of politics. It's probably a little harsher than our politics.
Right.
What the New York style of communicating doesn't play so well in South Carolina, not so well in Wisconsin. Right? It does. But now, frankly, Wisconsin is attracted to how he's fighting for them, and I'm sure South Carolina is too. But it's Trumpian. What I don't know what's going on, but after the debate, it is anti-Trumpian for Trump to say nothing for a week. Like, he can't do that. He can't. It's like there's press, and I'm part of the press. I'm part of the story. That's what he does. And he shut up. He didn't say. He's like, I'm going to let them implode. I'm going to let them have this conversation. I'm like, this is really. I think Democrats are even like. I heard Democrats like, what's happening? We need Trump to say something because we're fighting amongst ourselves. We need Trump to get in the story.
Right.
Very anti-Trumpian what Trump did, and then this. I mean, I don't know what you felt when you heard he was shot. I was so flippin' angry, and I think when we saw him come into the convention, and this has been talked about a lot. I know him fairly well. It wasn't Trumpian. He was subdued. He seemed grateful. I think he understood that the hand of God had something to play in saving his life, and that'll change me. I've never had a near-death experience, but having one, I think, changes a man's life. And the fact that he invited your former governor, Nikki Haley.
Yes.
I'll be damned she's not coming to this convention. She fought so hard against me. She's not invited. I invited Nikki Haley. I
think you put your finger on it. Near-death experience, having your life flash before your eyes. I mean, I'm not a neurosurgeon, but I was talking to one on Saturday after the assassination attempt. Just how close he came to not, and we think of him as a political figure, but he's also a husband and a father and a grandfather and a friend. I mean, he's more than just an elected official. I mean, he came so close to losing his life. And you can react one of two ways. You can react with anger, or you can react with this resolve that maybe there is a better path. The fact that not only was Governor Haley, but Tim Scott, whom you and I both love, but he ran for president, he spoke. Governor DeSantis, whom we serve with, he spoke. Vivek Ramaswamy ran against him, he spoke.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley, he gave a really good speaking slot to. I think he has a chance. I'm older than you are, but you're still old enough to remember.
He's older and wiser.
Ronald Reagan,
and a little grayer. Not much grayer, but just a little grayer.
Ronald Reagan won 49 out of 50 states.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? The only state he lost was Mondale's home state, and he almost won that.
Of Minnesota, yeah.
So if you want a mandate for transformational change, you have to do more. You know, there have been two presidents that I can recall that won the popular vote as a Republican. Reagan and Bush. And Bush didn't do it once. He did it once, but not twice.
Right.
He has a chance to do something that is transformational. So Thursday night, he loves you. He cares what you think. Might love Rachel a tidge more, but he does love you.
Okay. I love, because Trey knows behind the scene. He's like, I like you. Like, he used to call me. When I was in Congress, I could call him. Okay. He loves Rachel. I'm like,
who doesn't?
I'm like, Mr. President, she actually is my wife. Whoa. Whoa,
yeah, her
Daddy.
last name's Duffy.
I'm right here. I love that he loves her to death.
Well, so do a lot of other people. How would you, former prosecutor, didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth, but you know how to win in a purple state, you know how to win in a close district, you know how to persuade people that might be skeptical, what would be your advice for his speech on Thursday night?
So I'm going to start off with if you and I are two men talking, and I'm giving some advice to you about a difficult marriage that you're having, as I'm about to get a divorce, or I am divorced, right? I'm like, who are you to give me advice about my marriage? Because yours failed.
Right.
You can't ask to unify America if you can't even unify your own party.
Amen.
If you don't have the heart to invite Nikki Haley to your convention, you're lying to me if you're telling me you're going to unite this country, because you can't even extend the olive branch to her. And he did invite her. And I think he's serious about trying to unite the country. And I think it's fair to talk about the failure of policy and keep it on policy. Again, you don't have to go to Joe. Joe Biden's having trouble, right?
Yep.
And if you have someone older in your life, you've seen what's happening to him. You don't have to mention that because America can see that. You can talk about his policy. You can lay out your vision. He's a hopeful guy. You got to remain hopeful. The sun is rising, not setting on this country. And the tone, I think, matters. You know, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the tone is going to matter. And to your point, if he comes out with the right tone and the fact that Nikki was invited, and I think he has the ability to get people to rethink their vote and maybe cast it for him, because there are people who loved his economy. They just hate him.
Right.
They hate his brand of politics. They will take a look at him. After what's happened, they will take a look. And the tone is right. They love the policy. They'll come over. Can I ask you a question about, listen, you as a federal prosecutor, I was a lowly state prosecutor, to get to spend time in the courtroom. I think we are so lucky that not just, I mean, again, horrible if that bullet had been an inch over and taken Donald Trump's life. But now we're seeing all the failings of the Secret Service, Homeland Security, local law enforcement. It was a disaster. What conservatives would have gone through had that been successful, I don't think they would have taken to the streets, but it would have ripped this country apart in a place where I don't think we could put it back together, because I don't think you would convince conservatives that this wasn't allowed. This was intentional. What do you think about, again, the Secret Service, Homeland Security, how this all played out? There's some who say that I think we need to look at whether not just what happened, but what were the root causes of it? Were these accidents? Were these missteps? Were these failures? Or was there some intent behind it? And members of Congress, Corey Mills is saying that very thing. We need to look at what was driving the failure.
I would say two things. Saturday, when my mom texted me and said that Trump had been shot, I initially thought, "Mama, you're watching the wrong television show." I was actually on the putting green, practicing, and my mama texted me, and I ran home, and I saw that my mama was right. And my dominant thought was, this is a stress test for our republic. I don't know if you've ever taken a stress test before, if you've ever had heart issues. Okay. This is a stress test for our republic. Because if he is mortally injured, wounded, there will be retribution. There will be retaliation. And so it is not hyperbolic to say that this was a stress test for the republic. My fear, your fear, because we've been in Congress, is they're good at lots of things. Investigations are not necessarily one of them. It needs to be an investigation by someone who knows exactly what they're doing, whether that's an outside law firm. It doesn't need to be Secret Service. People are not great at grading their own papers. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to be Alejandro Mayorkas.
I was good at it.
Okay. Well, you
got an A.
That's how you got A's, is because you got to grade your own paper. But historically, you need experts, because look, I'm not a security expert. You're more of an outdoorsman. I was more of a golfer. I would think a rooftop would be one of the first places you looked if you were doing security at an outside event. I would think when you have multiple people saying someone with a firearm is trying to scale a ladder, that would get people's attention. Where I probably am, I don't know, naive or cynical, what the right word is, I always look to incompetence before I look for a conspiracy. Which I hate to say, because you like cops and I like cops. But I need to understand how all of this happened. And what I don't want is Congress fighting over who has jurisdiction. And you and I both know these chairmen are proprietorial. They're going to want this is my committee that gets to look into it. Meanwhile, we're burning daylight. We are wasting time. We need to know in weeks, not months and years, exactly how this happened.
So, this shooter also had a rangefinder, right? Using to shoot a firearm,
I use a rangefinder every
golf.
time I play golf.
So you see someone coming up with a rangefinder.
If you're not on a golf course or going deer hunting or turkey hunting, you don't need a rangefinder.
And the president's not far away. Lights and sirens kind of go off, and you and I both love cops. I'm surprised that when they see a guy with a rangefinder, even not even the firearm yet, that cops aren't there tackling him. They're not like down, right? I mean, I think South Carolinian cops would be like, that's not going to happen here.
So you look like a Boy Scout. Have you been through security since we've been at convention?
I have.
Okay.
That's how I got here.
All right. I have a pair of rounded scissors that I like to try to keep my hair immaculate. So
by the way, it is immaculate.
TSA's never stopped my
Is that how do you cut it every day? Is that how you do it?
That's what I have to do. I use these rounded scissors so I can get through TSA.
The secrets come out like, now I know.
Every time I've gone through security, they have pulled my scissors
known each other
out.
For 14 years, and
I'm just now telling you.
I'm
just now telling you. But your hair is perfect. Your hair is perfect. You actually look like you could be in a boy band still. I don't know if it's NSYNC. I don't know. I don't know the boy bands. I was more into Pink Floyd.
I'm like One Direction, maybe 1D.
One Direction. You're so much younger than I am. I don't even know who One Direction is.
My kids
One
laugh at
Direction.
me.
What direction are we going in? Here's what I don't get. I mean, you're a well-known television personality who served in Congress, and they are scanning you and checking everything that you have to come in to go do a television show. How does that get past security? How does a firearm get past security at an event? I can't get rounded scissors through security.
Because they didn't go through security. It was outside the perimeter. And the problem is, I don't know about you, but I've been to a number of events, and when I think of a sniper, I think of a rooftop.
Yes.
Snipers are on rooftops, so they have a vantage point and they can see. The snipers were inside the building with an open roof on top. And so let me ask you this question then, because I'm going to take over your podcast and ask you questions and flip the script.
The ratings will be higher.
You know the FBI, though.
I do.
You've in your congressional work, you got to see behind the curtain. And I think a lot of times you're able to get the truth out of people. Sometimes I think they try to lie to you. Do you have faith that there will be a rigorous investigation where we will get to the truth of if they were bad actors, we will know who they are and what their mission was, or if there were failings, Joe Biden's not going to fire them, but we will know who failed and how they failed and what changes are being made. Do you think that these institutions have the capability of looking at what happened here and then leveling with the American people, honest, straight shot, this is what went wrong, this is who's at fault?
I say this with a broken heart because I have a ton of FBI agent friends that I worked with for a number of years, many of whom are still my very close friends. The FBI's number one goal in life is to protect the reputation of the FBI. And I say that with a broken heart. They are going to do what they need to do to preserve their own reputation. They have convinced themselves that they are too important for any critique or criticism. And we saw that with Comey, and we've even seen that with Chris Wray. I listened to a Speaker of the House literally look Chris Wray in the eyeballs and say, you can be part of the cleanup crew or the cover-up crew. It is up to you. I think you need an outside group of expert investigators.
Does that exist? Is there an outside?
Congress could do that. Congress could say, I hate the phrase Warren Commission is overused, but I want a cadre of retired FBI Secret Service agents who report to no one except Lady Justice. I don't want Alejandro Mayorkas looking into it. I don't want the Bureau looking. Now, the Bureau is there is no charge, right? So if he acted alone, The defendant is dead. There is no
Right.
prosecution. What you're doing now is gathering evidence.
So, I guess I don't. I served in the body in the institution, so I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you do. So to set up, can the Congress, the House alone, set up an institution to investigate? But Trey's right. The Congress is a legislative body. It's not an investigative body. They can do oversight. They can push, but they don't investigate or don't do it well.